Okay. Future Cities is a prize-winning multimedia project about 5 cities that you wouldn't guess are on the forefront of things like fashion, food, art and tech. Stephanie Bakker and Yvonne Brandwijk started without any knowledge about making an interactive documentary, but they were comforted by the fact that no one else did either. So they just did it. Please welcome on stage journalist Stephanie Bakker and photographer Yvonne Brandwijk.
Is this working? Yeah, it's working. Hi, I'm Stephanie Bakker. I'm a freelance journalist working on social issues and international development stories. And I first want to thank Pauline, and I don't know if she's in, and the other people organizing this conference for having us today. Yvonne and I have been visiting this conference for a long time, I think since the beginning. And it feels as a recognition to be on stage ourselves right now to talk about our project. And so...
Yeah. Well, my name is Yvonne. I'm a photographer and I come from a traditional background. I studied at the Art Academy of Royal Art, studied photography. I graduated 20 years ago and I have been really educated to work on my own, on a classical way. Stephanie and I met 4 years ago at a co-working space. And there we found out that we already worked together on several assignments. But we didn't know each other. So that was kind of strange that we were talking and that Stephanie was telling me that she wrote that article while I was taking the pictures. So it showed again how independent we were working. And we thought like, well, we like each other, let's try to work together. Just really go together on jobs and get our own ideas and pitch them to several newspapers. And it seemed like that we only not liked each other, but also the newspapers liked it, that we pitched the ideas together. So that's how we started. After a while, we really felt like we wanted to work on a bigger project. And we thought that this project will take us like a year. Well, it's now 4 years later and it's not even finished. So it took much longer. Today in this presentation, we will tell you about future cities and how we immersed ourselves from a traditional background in new ways of telling stories. So I would like to show you, and I would like to start with the trailer of the web documentary part. Maybe you can...
On the knopje?
Oh, I put it... I think I've just turned on the wrong side.
Yeah,
there it goes.
So, as you can see, Future Cities is a multimedia project about 5 emerging cities. As Jair already said, not the cities you would expect when you think about the cities of the future, but I come back to that later. What we do, we produce multimedia content. So we do photos, we do text, we do audio, and we do video, and we mix it all together. And we use it across a wide range of platforms and channels. So we have our own web documentary. You saw it already in the trailer. We do print publications in Dutch and international media. We do print publications here in the Volkskrant and in Trouw. And we have exhibitions and also live events here in Pakhuizen-Zwijgen when we launch a new city. As you could see, we have been finishing 4 of the 5 cities, and we're working on the 5th right now, which is Addis Ababa. And we came up with the idea for this project when we worked on a story about fashion in Africa. And someone told us that Kinshasa was leading the fashion trends in Africa. And that's where we got curious. Because we thought about Kinshasa as a city of war and poverty and rebels. And when we started researching on Kinshasa, we found out that Kinshasa, according to a report of McKinsey, seemed to be one of the hotspots of growth for 2025. And so we were very curious, and we thought, so let's go to Kinshasa and find out what's going on and what's the other side of the story. And here we found out that there was really another story to tell, a story about hope and human connection and people working very hard to get ahead. And that's where the project started. And we thought, well, when this applies to Kinshasa, it should apply to other cities as well, because everywhere in the world there are 2 sides of the story.
Shall we start with the slideshow?
Yeah, let's start with the slideshow. Yeah.
So, like what Stephanie said, every city is linked to an appealing theme, and we're going to show you a short slideshow to get an idea about the cities. It's about finding the soul of the city. So these are the cities. And there we go. Kinshasa, so like what Stephanie said, Kinshasa, we explored the city's booming fashion scene. And instead of focusing on the problems that we read a lot about, we focused on the strength of the city. Maybe you can get the light down. Yes. Put the sound up. Thank you. So in Lima, it's all about food. Children don't want to become a soccer player like in Brazil, but they all would like to become a chef.
And this, for instance, is a social cooking school in the slums of Lima.
So the next one is Yangon, where we dove into the vibrant art scene, once known as the most cosmopolitan city of Asia. And in Medellin, we tell the story how a dangerous city known as the murder capital now changed into a tech hub.
Well, people often ask us why we choose these 5 cities as our subject cities. And I already told you about the McKinsey list of global cities of the future. But cities are a hot topic right now because the 21st century is known as the century of urbanization. In 2050, 70% of the world's population is living in cities. And there are a lot of studies on fast-growing cities. So what we did is we examined these lists and these studies, and we asked ourselves which places are growing very fast in economic sense and in demographic sense, and how surprising is such growth. So basically, we took our own curiosity as a starting point for the selection of the cities. So we made from this surprising effect, we made a long list, and we linked these cities to a theme. And from this long list, we picked 5 cities, because we simply had funding for 5. So you can imagine there are a lot more cities on our wish list right now. So rapid economic and demographic growth is a precondition to be included in our project. But what really fascinates us are the stories behind the statistics of urbanization and growth. The stories about the people. And so in our research, we focus on what makes a city authentic and what's in the DNA of the people and why is that? And that is how you come to what we call the soul of the city. And this is actually a saying from one of the main characters from our project, Aung Suu Ming from Yangon, a gallery owner, who said to us, the mood of the people is the soul of the city. And we like that so much that we use this phrase often right now. So before we travel, we do a lot of research. We talk to experts from universities. We talked to NGOs, to diaspora, and a couple of times we have been lucky to talk to local people that were here for a short time in the Netherlands. And then we traveled to the cities, and what we found out is that in some cities, people immediately agree on the team chosen. For instance, in Lima, everybody's so into food that there's no doubt that we had the right team chosen. In other cities, it was not that clear always. It was more underground. And sometimes it made us doubt, and it happens most of the time on the third day that we say to each other, are we right? Is it really happening? Is it really going on? Or do we simply see it because we search for it? And what we found out is that indeed we had the right team chosen, but it happens to be that it was something that people were not really aware of. It was already for a long time in their DNA, because in Kinshasa, for instance, the style of the people is legendary for a long time. And also the culinary traditions of the Peruvian people go back to the Incas. In Yangon, during the communistic era, political prisoners were even painting in prison. So, but what happened is that because of conflict, or because of a lack of confidence, or a lack of freedom, people were hiding their qualities for a long time. And what we saw is that when economy grows, or when people experience more freedom, the qualities they always had start to flourish again. And that causes as well also a lot of development in the city. Because in Lima, for instance, we saw that the current gastronomy boom is causing social change on many fronts. They even want to have a chef as their president. So you can say with Future Cities, we changed the narrative about emerging cities. We often think that people in emerging countries need our help to solve their problems. But we turned this perspective from telling them what to do to transmitting the energy and the inspiration and the knowledge from these cities into our lives. Because a lot of the stories about urbanization and emerging cities are about the negative consequences of urbanization. They are about congestion, about inequality, about pollution. But we found out that there's also another story to tell. Stories about hope, stories about ambition, about resilience, human connection, and a lot of neglected talent. And of course, both stories are true. But what we decided is to tell the stories that are often neglected or hardly told. And we think they must be told as well to give a more balanced view of the world. And we heard that this, when we started 4 years ago, we didn't know that this kind of journalism has a name, constructive journalism. And reporting about paths forwards, about solutions, and about the future is really becoming a new movement in journalism right now, although at least in the Netherlands. But when we started, these were just the stories we really wanted to tell.
Yeah. And what I really like about the constructive way, and what we found out, it's not that you only want to tell positive stories. Constructive is not about that. But if you start with a problem, you never come to the quality. But if you start with the power and the strength and the quality of people, you will get to the problem. You will face where they have daily problems. And we're also showing that. But first we talk and we meet the people in an equal way. And it's not about, I know it, I know the truth. And that's not, and you have a problem. No, I want to learn from you. Tell me your quality, tell me what's your life like. And it really works. And I also found out it opened doors. People are so happy that if you come to Kinshasa and you meet the designer in the port neighborhood of Kinshasa, that we're not there to show his problem, but we are there because he's a talent, he's a great designer. And so I think that's my way, that's our way to tell the stories. So,
And you come immediately to the people behind the statistics.
yeah, the people behind the statistics. So it shows that we start we tell the stories through main characters. So each city we follow like 5 to 7 protagonists, and going through their, meeting them and following their lives, it tells the story of the city. And how is it the life like to live in a city like this? And how are the things organized? And what does the city needs for the future? For this next video, we're going to show you. It shows it's a story about Lewison, the fashion designer that I just mentioned.
Mon nom c'est Louison Béa, je suis styliste, modéliste et couturier. En fait, j'essaie de ramener une nouvelle touche dans le monde vestimentaire. J'essaie de customiser les vêtements.
On va s'avancer pour saluer les grands blancs, tout de blanc dessus, comme Gustave, sur les tables. Louison.
Dans mes 10 ans de carrière professionnelle, j'ai participé dans 57 défilés, notamment 3 Fashion Week nommés Congo Fashion Week. Ici au Congo, la mode ne paye pas. Dans le show, je ne gagne pas d'argent parce que notre souci, c'est de nous faire connaître. Mais après, les gens viennent, ils prennent des photos de nos vêtements, ils vont les faire ailleurs à très moins cher. Le nom monte, mais l'argent ne suit pas. J'essaie d'habiller des stars. C'est que ces gens-là me donnent et me permettent de lier les deux bouts du mois. Ni t'étais ces stars-là, j'allais déjà tomber par terre. Pour faire l'argent, moi j'imagine en fait créer des boutiques de vêtements. Nous avons 2 classes. Il y a une classe qui achète beaucoup. Il y a l'autre classe qui n'achète pas. Cette classe qui achète beaucoup ne se promène pas là où nous travaillons. Donc il faut mettre des points de repère où ils iront facilement acheter des vêtements. Pour essayer de perfectionner mon art, j'ai envie d'aller surtout en Europe pour étudier la mode ou la couture dans une grande école de mode. Et puis revenir après pour investir dans mon pays parce que ce pays-là a vraiment beaucoup plus de potentialité pour permettre à nous les artistes d'évoluer.
So, although we do a lot of research before we leave, we meet the majority of our main characters on the spot. Because simply they are not on the internet. Nobody ever interviewed Lewison before we came. And afterwards, other people came to interview him. That's a side story. But so we find our main characters on the spot and not before we leave. And so how do we do that? So as soon as we arrive, we try to dive into the theme we've chosen, into the scene. So in Lima, we went already the second day to the biggest food festival of Latin America. In Medellin, we went to hackathons. And in Kinshasa, we had a little sewing atelier across the road from our hotel, and we went there all immediately, and we spoke to the lady working there, and she told us, well, tonight there is a fashion show in one of the hotels in Kinshasa, you can go there. So we went, and that's where we met Lewison, and we saw him immediately as a nice character, because Lewison was sitting on the forefront of the catwalk with his yellow jacket with a lot of bling bling and his sunglasses still on. And we said to each other, I think he's very nice. And later on, he appeared to know everybody. He was shaking hands with everybody. He was kissing high-heeled ladies goodbye. And he said to us, oh, well, nice that you're here, but I don't have any time to talk to you today. So come to my atelier tomorrow and then we can talk. And I remember that we said to each other, we hope it isn't a fancy atelier because we're looking for someone coming up. And that's how we ended up in his atelier, which was not really fancy. So Yvonne already told that it really opens doors when you come with the right intention. When you come with a curiosity, and when you come to hear about people's qualities, and they like to talk about it, especially when they live in a country with a bad image. And it also causes every time unexpected meetings as well. Because when we were in Kinshasa and we just met Louison, I got a phone call from our fixer, and he told us, well, Warrison, the biggest pop star of Congo, is waiting for you in a bar around the corner. And he had heard that we were in the city and wanted to talk to us. And Yvonne kept on filming because we thought that we found a nice character for our web documentary. And I passed by to say hello, and basically I had to tell this pop star that we were more interested in the guy that appeared to be his stylist, Louison. And in Medellin, we were invited by the mayor of Medellin to come and have a drink on his rooftop terrace. And at first we refused because we are more interested in ordinary people's stories than in policymakers' public relations stories. And but his spokesman told us, "Oh, you can't refuse. Then you would really offend the mayor." So we went, and we had a cappuccino with rum. We didn't ask for it, but Yvonne, instead of taking the mayor's portrait, made a very beautiful city shot from the rooftop. So this, this what happens, and we have a lot of great meetings with the people over there, and you already could see us working some behind the scenes.
How much time did you spend in the city to find and create stories?
We spent between 2 and 3 weeks in the city. And we work almost 16 hours a day. We get up very early to get the right city shots with good lights. And in the evening, a lot of happenings are going on. So we work, we do, I think, 6 weeks in 3 weeks or something. Yeah.
For this presentation, we spoke to Pauline, and she asked about our signature, our voice, and our style. And, it's constructive, we explained that. It's personal, but it's also, we really would like in the web doc to make it an experience. So if you visit the web doc, we really want to give the feeling that you are there. And our biggest compliment was a tweet. It was like, if you don't have any money to spend this summer, if you can't go on holiday, just visit Kinshasa from Future Cities. For 30 minutes, you're really there. And so we knew this is really what we wanted. The people, the audience will connect even more with the personal stories if they feel that way. Sorry? Clipje. Oh yes, and this is how we bring the atmosphere. So each city comes with an atmosphere clip. Just give a little bit the vibe of the city, and after that, it brings you into the stories. Just going to show you Lima.
Yeah, and this is, so I already told you we are for 2 or 3 weeks in a city and we work 16 hours a day. So we come back with a lot of material, a lot of photos, a lot of interviews, a lot of video material. And then we both go our own way. We both create our own story. Of course, we discuss a lot, but we already discussed a lot during traveling. And then at one point, text and images have to come together, and this is our way how we do it. So I write a story, and we together create a storyline, and Yvonne creates a story in images, and we try to bring it together. Because although we didn't have any experience making an interactive, we knew from the beginning that we wanted to do an interactive. Because we saw The Guardian and the New York Times doing great things online. This is 4 years ago, and now the Volkskrant has a cross-media department. So a lot has happened in the meantime. But 4 years ago, it was still...
we had Firestorm from The Guardian. That was our Bible.
Yeah.
That was a real big multimedia project, and that was like the Bible. So that was our example, and we wanted to create the same.
Yeah, so during our first trip, Yvonne taught herself, or on forehand as well, taught herself how to film with her photo camera. I supported with the audio and learned to interview for the camera, which is different than doing an interview just for as a writing journalist. And what did I want to say? Oh yeah, and then we came back. And we were looking at the Firestorm production of The Guardian all the time when in Kinshasa. Oh, that's great, and we're going to do that as well. And I remember us coming back, and we got an email with an article of a friend of ours and said, hey, look, this is how they made Firestorm. And we looked into it, and they wrote that they worked on it with 30 people, 7 months full time. So we thought, oh my God, how are we going to do this when we are only the two of us? But we did whatever we could, and we learned ourselves new things, and we worked together with experts. We worked together with web designers, with a designer as well, with a sound designer. And the thing is that we had to find out everything ourselves, how it works. Because I remember that one day we had our web documentary more or less ready, the first episode, and Yvonne told me, yeah, I think there's a fluency in the written story, there's a fluency in the photo story, and it comes together, and the video fits in right. But the audio, it doesn't feel as a fluent experience. And then we thought, oh, well, there are people, there are sound designers. Let's ask him what he thinks about it. And since then, we have a sound designer in our team as well.
Then we started to realize that we couldn't do it together, that we really needed a team. And so this takes it all, this all interaction design, development, visual design, video editor, sound design, translation, subtitles. Yeah, and you name it, photo editor, project management, which we did ourselves, exhibition designer, color correction, all these people we had to hire. And it became an office.
Yeah. Yeah. So we by combining different media and learning ourselves new ways of telling stories, that's really nice. It was a nice experience, and it works out very well, I think. But it also needs sacrifice. Maybe Yvonne, you can tell something about it.
Well,
without having any discussions.
Without having any discussions. No, we really have the same ideas about we really want to tell a good story, but I come from a traditional photography background. Stephanie comes from a traditional writing. I want to have the nicest photo series. Stephanie wants to have really nice writing. But if you put that together, it sometimes just doesn't work. If you put text over a photo, what we do, then you see the person, and you don't want to read that person is wearing a special earring or wearing this kind of scarf, but you already see it. So it feels, for me, it felt very full. And so we really had to find a new language together to tell the stories in this web documentary. And also, I had to learn that it wasn't always about my best picture, but I had to make the decision that it was about the best story. So I learned a lot working with a journalist to really think about the story. And then when I really realized this is the right story, I started to love those pictures. So it was, it's really nice to do this together.
And the thing is, I also had to adjust my writing as well, because normally you write about the surroundings and to transmit people to a place. But when you see a photo and when you hear the audio, you don't have to do that as much. But you still want to tell a story. So that, I had to adjust my writing and make it shorter as well. And that took us some time, but yeah, I think we ended up, it causes also a lot of discussions, and but I think we ended up both with the same attitude that we want to tell the best story. And if it is in photography, it's in photography. If it is in video, and if it is in audio, and in the best way it comes together. I think even with the video clip, there's no writing involved in the video clip. But still, it feels as my story as well. So I think we have emerged ourselves to storytellers and not traditional photographer and writer anymore.
So, and then we started to ask for funding, and the European Journalism Center gave us with the start when we started the project. And what is so nice about the European Journalism Center, they have boot camps. So you go there, all the grantees from around the world come for 2 days together, and then you learn from each other. And we learned the P.O.P.E strategy, and that was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener to me. And it's about produce once and publish everywhere. And again, coming from this traditional background, if you write a story or you publish a story, then the story is done. And now it's like we try to get most out of it. So we started with publications in the newspapers. This is from the Volkskrant, the Dutch daily newspaper. They became our media partner. And but we also started to print at P.O.P.E, for example, Le Monde, and some more. It doesn't totally work, I see.
There's one missing.
There is one missing, but also we started to have live events organized in this space. When Kinshasa came out, Egbert, the man from Pakhuis de Zwijger, sorry? The director? Yeah. The director of Pakhuis de Zwijger. He really liked the way we approached this. And so he wrote us a long email like, we have to work together. So we even didn't think about organizing live events. But now it's really nice that if a city comes out, it comes out in a newspaper. It comes out online. And online is the web doc is really the mother of the project. That is where it starts. But then also a week later, we have a live event at this beautiful space. So that's really nice. And what happened as well to us, yes, it's a slideshow. We were invited by the United Nations at the Habitat 3 conference. It's a conference that happens only once in every 20 years, and it happened last year in Quito. And they asked us, can you please be part of this conference? Because like around 50,000 people come and high policy makers are there. But it's all about numbers. And you talk about the people. So we thought, of course we want to join. But under one condition. You have to fly over some of our protagonists. And they did. So it was the best time ever. We stayed there for 2 weeks with Lewison, who sees here his picture. and Louison, the designer from Kinshasa. How happy he is on the streets. And next to him, it's Ang from Yangon. And also Elsa from Lima was supposed to be there, but she had to cancel it one day before because of an accident. So she couldn't make it. And it was not only, we didn't want them only there just to be present. We really want them to be listened at. So UNESCO made this happening, that they talk here for people from the UNESCO. And we had other things, maybe you can say something. We had even, we had a Pakhuizen Zwijgen event. We had them in the in the different the Holland House.
They gave presentations all over the place, and they were invited because, it appeared that it was all about high-level policy, and they were the only people from the cities they were talking about. So they were invited everywhere, and everybody wanted to talk with them because the conference was about policy making for the future for emerging cities, and they were almost the only two people around from these emerging cities. Here they are sitting in the exhibition. And the exhibition, so we were very proud to give them a voice on this conference. And also the exhibition received 25,000 visitors.
In 10 days.
In 10 days. So I think that was a good
And really the
job.
exhibition, this space, was having 25,000 people. So it was like amazing. And I think for me, and I think for you, it's the highlight of the project to have these people with us there and give them a voice.
And also because because we were talking a lot about DNA, and Louison speaks French, Ang speaks a bit of English, and they couldn't talk with each other. But they seemed to have the same way of thinking, the same DNA of wanting to do creative things, wanted to help their city ahead through what they can do. And they start talking to each other, and they really understood each other. So our big dream for the future is to have them all together from all 5 cities, at least one of them. And we are working on that right now to bring them together in Amsterdam.
At the We Make the City Festival.
At the We Make the City Festival. We're still working on raising funds, but
it's going to happen, I promise. We just have 2 minutes, 1 minute. Lessons learned. We wanted to talk a little bit about the lessons learned. We give, the last year we won some prizes, the World Press Photo Prize and the Online Journalism Award. So we got invited to give lectures to students and to people that are interested. And it starts mostly like, but your project is so big. It's so big. It will never happen. I will never do that. But we also just started. So think big, but just start small. And just start it. Just do so. We did it. We thought we will visit 6 cities in 1 year. Well, it's 4 years later, and we're finishing the 5th. But just start the project.
Yeah, what helps, I think, we were talking about a constructive way of approaching journalism, but there's also a constructive way of approaching your personal decisions. So we are both having families at home, and a lot of people say to us, well, you can't go away for 3 weeks when your kids are that small. Our kids are the same age, and when we left for the first time, they were 4?
3 and 5 years old.
3 and 5, yeah. And a lot of people told us, well, don't go that long. So we went to Kinshasa only for 12 days. Because that was the possibility we thought we had to go. Now we go longer because we have the confidence that they will be okay.
They survive.
They survive, yeah. So we started to think in possibilities instead of limitations as well.
And it's also the other way, yeah? Because it's like mother says, like you can't go away that long, or my mother said that. But the other way is that friends that don't have children or colleagues, like, it's way too short to call only for 10, 12 days. But it's just, we just did it. Like, okay, it's not about how long do we want to leave, no, how long can we leave? And that's how we started it. And it worked out. I think
that's it.
this is it, but just for the last one,
Yeah.
Future Cities Addis Ababa will be here on the 25th at 8 p.m. Would be really nice to see.
You're not gonna disclose what their key thing
It's all
is.
about music.
Music.
Music, yes.
Thank you so much,
Any
Stephanie
questions,
Bakker.
or
Oh,
do
any
we have
questions?
any
Yeah,
time
well,
for
yeah.
questions?
First questions, then a round of applause. We have not much room for questions, but a few questions, perhaps. Anyone? Tanya.
You were supposed to do it in a year. It took you 4 years, 5 years. Meanwhile, cross-media production has changed, has evolved. Are there any things you would have done, if you look back at the productions now, are there things you would like to change?
Yeah, you want to? Well, we started with a newspaper, the Volkskrant, and it was for them, they didn't have a cross-media department yet. So it took a long time to figure out that we had to be independent and that we had to build it on our own way. And so that would have saved us a lot of time. So I would have done that differently.
Yeah, so we launched a pilot after 1 year. And then we did it again after 2 years. And then we did it as independent publishers almost. And we have partners around us, media partners. Trouw is now our media partner. And so we have partners around us, but the project is more independent, so we already did it twice. And I think that when we, as I told you, there are more cities on our wish list. And of course we want to go back and see how they are doing, how the city is evolving, because in the meantime, these cities are changing so rapidly. So we want to go back as well. So we have to think about how to
A new format.
next steps, and we will definitely think about a new format as well. Yeah.
Have you got funding for the next 5 cities?
Not
No.
yet.
Not yet. Anyone here with financial? But you've been so successful so far, so the next step will be easier probably to get money.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. It's always hard to find funding.
I think it's more about the idea. We have to come up again, because cities is really a hot topic. And constructive journalism, when we pitched the project, was really in the beginning, I think. So we have to come up with something new and something coming up. And I think we will get funds again, but
You never know. I have one last question. This strange picture in the city of Lima of a library on a weird location. What was happening there?
yeah, it is actually, it is the library of a social cooking school in the slums of Lima. And this container was a present of one of the most famous chefs in the world, Spanish from El Bulli in Spain. And they sent a container full of cooking books to the school after visiting the school. And they thought, well, we don't have a library here, so why use this as a library and let's keep it here. So
Oh, he sent the container and they kept the container as a library.
as a library, yeah.
Yeah, but they also made a container already that you could open it, the sides.
Wow.
It's really nice. But you see that the books are totally like going one way because of the shipping.
And it's in use. They use it.
They use it a lot, yeah. It is extremely cold and there's wind all the time, but there were people reading books and looking into recipes while we were there, yeah.
Thank you so much, Stephanie Bakker, Yvonne Brandwijk. It's a beautiful project. Check it out. Future Cities.